Hello again, I'm Bart, and I will be your host today. I have this privilege to be a host of today's meeting. I'm also one of the speakers. I will be sharing a few things about how we use Alteryx with AI. But before we jump into the main topic, I just want to say a few information about this user group, especially since I see a lot of new faces. We have 63 people right now during our call. I wanted to use 2 minutes just to explain what kind of Alteryx user group meeting it is in the end. So basically, if I could describe that very quickly, we are a group of Alteryx users who are meeting like this, like we have a meeting today, for past 4 years. We share real life use cases, we talk about what works in Alteryx, and we basically learn from each other. We started this initiative in 21, and since this time, for last 4 years, we had more than 40 presentations, and all of those are led by different people using Alteryx in a very different ways. As you can see on the left, we have a roadmap of the previous meetings that we had in the past. And if you are curious, some of those sessions are available on YouTube. So you can definitely check them out later if you would like to. Just scan the QR code in the right bottom screen and you will be able to watch those recordings. Okay, so today we have two presentations. The first one will be called 60 AI use cases in 60 minutes. I will do that together with you, Peter, and Emil, and we will show you how Alteryx and AI can work together. I guess this is definitely a really popular topic right now, and many of you want to try AI, but don't know how to start. We'll show you definitely a lot of ideas how to get it started. The second part of the meeting will be with Christian, and Christian will talk about Alteryx One and basically what's new with Alteryx. I have a feeling that many of you already heard about Alteryx One through LinkedIn, through some information available on the internet. A lot of people ask about it, like what kind of Alteryx One it is. And Christian will explain Alteryx One concept and what is behind and what is coming in the future when it comes to that. So, all right, let's get started. The session, 60 GenAI use cases in 60 minutes. At the first glance, it sounds quite intense, I guess. And before we jump into Alteryx workflows and practical examples, we would like to take a minute to introduce ourselves. I'm Bart, and I'm proud to be an Alteryx Ace. Alteryx Ace is a title given to active top users, Alteryx users within Alteryx community. I'm also a co-founder of Datapal, a company and official Alteryx partner. We help other companies with Alteryx training and consulting. As Datapal, we had the pleasure to work with several global brands, including some of the biggest financial organizations in the world. And today with myself, I'm presenting together with you, Peter, and Emil. And you, Peter, if you could tell more about you to our special audience, that would be perfect.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you for the warm introduction. I'm Jupiter Bakakeu, Generative AI lead at Alteryx, and I hope that in this session, I will just show you what Alteryx is bringing on the table. And we work with our 60 use case. So the idea is to inspire you and to show you also live how you also, if you are not a data scientist, how you can actually build your own generative AI solution. So let's keep, let's be with us in the meeting, just follow us. And then I'm pretty sure you will appreciate the meeting afterwards. Thank you, Bart.
Thank you, Peter.
So, a short introduction of myself. My name is Emil, and I am a huge Alteryx fan. And because I spent way too much time with the Alteryx, I was recognized as the Alteryx Ace, the same as Bart. Basically, I'm also co-founder of the Datapal. I really enjoy sharing my passion as an Alteryx trainer to teach other people how to make their work much more awesome, much more interesting thanks to the Alteryx. And I'm happy to be here, and I am very excited to share some of the practical examples that we prepared.
That's perfect. Thank you, Emil. And right now, let me walk you really quickly through the agenda so we could be on the same page together. I see more than 70 people on the call. I really like the number itself. Thanks for joining. So the first two parts are more like an introduction and background. I know that most of you probably haven't joined this meeting because you want to watch a PPTX or you would like to watch a presentation. You came here probably to watch real life use cases. And don't worry, we will have plenty of those presented today. We will have a real life examples. So first, we will talk a little more theoretical how and why teams are using GenAI in Alteryx. And there are two concepts, everyday and game-changing AI, all to prepare you for our demo, which we have. Then we'll talk about what is it necessary to act now, like why more and more people are testing GenAI in their data live. And after that, the most interesting part will start, which is a demo part. And it's time for real life examples. We'll start with a short demo that shows how GenAI fits into a common use case, a data standardization use case. And then we will have quite a long block where we'll show you several use cases. It will be function by function, department by department. We'll cover a use case from tax department, from controlling, from legal, marketing, procurement, and support. So I believe everyone from this audience, 70 people, could utilize some of the use cases that we'll present. I want to highlight as well that we will show you 60 AI use cases on the high level. From those 60 use cases in details, today on the call, we'll present 6 in more comprehensive view. All those use cases that will be presenting today are actual use cases that we discuss with Alteryx customers. Those 6 use cases that I mentioned could be then scaled to the number of 60 that I was referring to. Which one of those use cases will solve a real life problem? As I mentioned, all of those use cases were discussed with Alteryx customers. And just lastly, at the end, we have a surprise and Q&A. We will have a quick wrap up, quite a surprise. I really promise you that it will be exciting. So please wait till the end at free of charge opportunity to use our expertise to automate one of your AI processes, future AI processes. And of course, Q&A. If you have any questions, please leave those on the chat. We'll try to answer those during the presentations as well. So I will pause right now for a second, and I believe we can start with today's topic. So why we are here? I think the answer is really simple. Everyone talk about Gen AI. It's everywhere. But let's be honest, like how many people you know that are actually using AI? Like, according to what I see, only quite only a small number under hello, only just a small number are actually doing it in a meaningful way. And that gap between interest and action is exactly why we have this session. We want to present you a practical and scalable, that's the crucial word, way how to approach that. Then what is in it for you? Like, I'll be very honest, for people working in data, maybe this is a buzzword, but this is a huge opportunity in front of you. It's a chance for you to get more visibility. You can join more strategic projects. You can prove how AI can actually support the business. I mentioned that everyone talking about AI, but you can be the one who actually moves things forward. And I'm not trying to be a coach. I'm just saying the obvious thing that it looks the way that you can utilize this opportunity if you know, of course, how to apply that. And how and why are we showing this to you? because it is really simple and it's simpler than it seems to be. It's easier. No coding, no need to start from scratch. And in most cases, it's all about adding Gen AI to processes that you already have, you already created, like workflows reports that are already existing processes. So this is like a warm up for you. And Emil, please feel free to take us scene right now.
Oh, I was on mute. I would like to quickly talk about the topic of everyday and game-changing AI. So basically, everyday AI is something that I think a lot of you are already doing. You are using ChatGPT to solve some kind of problems and to make your work a little bit more efficient. Maybe even more than a little bit. Game-changing AI is a concept of reserved to people which are data scientists, which spend majority of the time for thinking and building actual AI models. And under this term, we understand something which is like a new product, new service. For example, creating video based on the prompt. This is a game-changing AI. This is not the focus of our session. Everyday AI is here for us to make our processes more efficient, faster, smarter, more cost-effective, basically. We have a couple of examples here, like content creation, target marketing, social media monitoring, invoice parsing, analytics automation, things like that. Definitely you can do with the combination of Alteryx and GenAI. There are also products which I have mentioned, which are a little bit more sophisticated. For example, creating new drugs, discovery and design. Probably for this, you need to have a little bit more experience than being only the Alteryx expert. I also would like to quickly cover why Alteryx and GenAI can work really, really well together. So one of the major benefits is that for the GenAI, definitely you need to have a data which is clean and prepared. Very often this data is in plenty of different data sources, and it's really hard to get that information. And with the Alteryx, we can not only extract, but also prepare the data very, very easily. No coding is needed. So you don't need to be a Python expert. You just need to have a solid expertise with the Alteryx to build a really good and efficient processes. One thing which I think not many people are considering when they are starting their first GenAI process is that actually you might already have a process in place that you can enrich using GenAI. And you can have a process that you are adding like one additional step, which is adding a lot of additional value to the existing process. And actually, I think this is one of the best way to start using the GenAI inside of the Alteryx itself. I would also like to mention that this is not something which I would say is not achievable for many people. Like, I think if you are using Alteryx and you have day-to-day expertise using AI, like ChatGPT, you can definitely do it without help of Big Four or huge budget, I would say. What I really like about the Alteryx is that it's really easy to understand. All the processes aren't a black box, so you can also easily explain it to the business to ensure that everyone is on the same page and ensure that you are building a model, a process which is scalable and easy to maintain in future. We will not cover that today, but when we are thinking about AI, we also need to think about platform which is secured and governance. And Alteryx is investing a lot in the concept of AI data clearinghouse, which will allow us to use the LLMs with the combination with the Alteryx in even more secure and better way. And I would like to pass a voice to you, Peter. And you, Peter, if you could share why it's important to act now on this topic.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Emil. Thank you very much, everyone. As I mentioned before, I brought with you some use cases, which I think will be relevant for you. But the question is, why is it important? Why do you have to act now? Why not wait until maybe in 10 years when everything will be settled down, then you can start? And to illustrate why is it so important, I brought two videos with you. I like to introduce my call with those videos. This is actually a running gag that is going on in the data science community. So what you see on the left is actually a videos that we started, I will say 2 years ago. So somebody said, okay, there is the new task. We want to create a videos based solely on the text description. So you will give a text, and then as an output, you will receive a videos. And there is this very famous videos, what we call Will Smith eating spaghetti. And the idea is that every year we check actually how far has the technology begun. So you can see that here on the left, this was around March of 2023 when actually the challenge started. You can see that the video is not so quite very well. Then you can really see that this is actually something that doesn't work. But if you look carefully on the right, this is only 2 years after the challenge has been started. You can actually not really much poke if the video is real or if the video is a fake. And this, why I'm showing you that, this shows actually the speed at which the development right now is going, right? And we track everything, not only for this kind of tasks, but in the past we track it for different kinds of tasks. And what we have seen is that it takes about 3 months right now to define the task and then have an AI system solve the task better than a human. And this is led by 3 major factors. First, we have a lot of data, we have a lot of compute power, and there are also a tremendous algorithms progress that allows you now really to solve this problem. What does it mean for your business? This means for your business that you will see a small guy that will sit in his garage building the things that you are already building it. And then after 6 months, he has something that probably you cannot compete with, you as a human. We put your industry and everything that you are doing at the question. So you need to react fast. And if you don't react fast, you will be surprised. Your competitor will get an advantage edge, or you will have something, many things that will happen that we will not be able to cover. And we have started seeing it, right? There is multiple examples that you can see. So one of them that I would like to mention is, for example, I don't know if you know the company that we call In Silico Medicine. This is a small company based in Hong Kong, which every year is able to put more than 15 new drugs in the market. They have around right now 20,000 employees, but a huge company like Bayer that is based in Germany, which has around 600 employees, can only do the maximum of 10 new drugs every year. So you can see the discrepancy. And they achieve that because they put AI in every piece of their business. And this is actually what we prepare to you today. So you have to act now. And the question is, how does Alteryx really helps you? So if you can go to the next. Alteryx helps you in 3 ways. The first way is you are data analysts. So you probably use already Alteryx. We will use actually the power of generative AI to bring it in our product to speed up your work. Meaning that if you are designing a workflow, everything that you do, you will be able to do it faster. So we have tools like the Copilot that allows you just, you ask the question and then we recommend you the next best tool, or you have a problem in your workflow, you just ask to the Alteryx Copilot and then we describe exactly what is the problem and how to solve it, making you building your workflow more faster. The second thing that Alteryx brings at the table is that we will bring you also an additional set of tools, what we call the GenAI tool, that allows you to use the capability of the large language model inside the workflow. So think about all the workflow where you have, for example, to build a complex logic to achieve a specific result or to format the data in a specific way. Actually, with the GenAI tools, you can ask the large language model inside your workflow to do those things for you. And the good thing is that they can do that much faster and much cheaper, making you actually fast when you need to deliver the insights. And of course, in the future, the industry, no matter where you are, will be fueled by different AI systems. And the question is, all these AI systems will need to rely on some clear data, trusted data that have been validated. And I know that you as a data analyst or a business user, you are the one that understand actually the data. So how can you cleanse the data and make the data ready so that whatever AI system you have in your company can actually rely on those data when you build the application? These are the three things that Alteryx brings at the table. And I also want to, for today, we are going to focus more on the second one, what we call the new GenAI tools that allows you actually to talk to a large language model and ask the large language model to do something very specific inside your workflow. And to illustrate how this works actually in Alteryx Designer, before we move into the use case that we prepare for you, I would like to share my screen. So allows me to share my my screen and let me know if you can actually already see it. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Okay. When I talk to you that you have the ability now to use the capability of the large language model inside your workflow. When I talk about it, what does it mean? So you are the data expert. So probably you're sitting in the tax department, you are sitting in the procurement department or in the data analytics group somewhere. I brought with you a small example. So what you see here on the screen is actually some data that are dirty, right? This is just a sample company, could be also another company, but imagine this is just something that we use for the illustration. So what you can see into the data is that, for example, for the company names, you have different ways how the company name is writing, right? What you want to do as a data analyst, the first thing that you need to do will be actually to standardize those data. So you can see the company name has different notation. You can see that the tax code, which is supposed to be the same, can come in different formats. The country where the company is supposed to have its headquarters can also be written in different formats. And also for each one of those transactions, for example, you have here 1,000 is supposed to be US dollar, but it's different way how this has been written. Of course, we add some annotation to make you clear about what is the problem. So if you have to build a Alteryx workflow to do that, you will use a lot of logic because every way that the company name needs to be right, that the tax code, you need to build like a workflow, a custom logic to adapt to that. The problem is, if there is a new type of error, then you need to change the workflow. How can you now use the capability of the large language model to do that? There are 3 steps that are necessary. First step, the large language model behaves like ChatGPT, meaning that I need some instruction to give to the large language model, please format this for me. And second, I need to let that be executed. And third, what it will answer to me, I need to pass it so that I have a clear data set. Okay, so let's start first. These are the data set that I received from the database, wrong formatted. I will just extract some piece of that so that everything goes well. And then I need to prepare the prompt. The prompt can be seen as an instruction to say to the large language model, please do that for me. And if you look carefully inside my prompt, I will say to the large language model, you are a data cleansing expert. Please standardize the following tabular data. I expect you to give me the company name in the right format, the tax code in the specific format, the country name in the standard ISO format in English, the amount in US dollar, but in the specific format so that I can actually reuse that. And then I will say, using the formula tool, just generate a prompt for each rows of data that I have here. Now I have the instruction for each rows of the data. The next thing that I want to do is now to say to the large language model, please correct it for me. And for that, here we have an implementation of the GenAI tool that is the form of a macro where you need to specify what is the prompt and also to set where is my large language model deployed. Okay, so in that specific case, the large language model is on the platform, but it could also be something that inside your company. And you can see they are different. You can then select a specific model. In my specific case, I will select Claude 3.5. In your company, there will be one model deployed. And of course, I ask in my prompt that the result should be as a JSON. You can see now the result that he makes the analysis and bring me all the data now in the standardized JSON format, that I can use the JSON tool from Alteryx to bring all the data now in the nice and clear form. Everything now, the amount, the company name, the country, and the task code, everything is now standardized. And you can see that just in the few tools, I was able to use a large language model in my Alteryx workflow. I was able to let him, give him some instruction how we need to process on my data. He was able actually to formalize those data, to standardize those data, and produce me some output that I can use. This is the basic principle of the GenAI tools. Now, the question is, once I have this tool, what can I do? So in the next slide that I want to show to you, give me 1 second. In the next slide that I want to show to you is actually a collection. What you see here is actually a collection of use case that we were able to use the same principle that you have seen here. We were able to use the same principle to cover the different use case. And you can see all these use cases are more aligned in the way that the large language model works. And everything that you see actually yellow here in this slide is everything that is actually in production at the customer. So we want to go deeper with the workflow that we bring, but consider this: you have the GenAI tool, gives you the ability now to use the large language model capability inside your workflow. You now have this capability. You can apply it on every use case that you are working with, including the one that already exists. So do you want to see it in practice? I will hand over to Bart so that he can go now into the different line of business and see the use case that we prepare for you.
Thank you very much, Peter, and thanks for sharing. Right now, I have a pleasure to share use case in Alteryx. Let me know if you can see my screen right now.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Perfect. So, as I mentioned in the agenda when we were talking about the plan of this meeting, I was mentioning that we will cover different departments and functions and the use cases for those functions. We prepared 6 different departments that we would like to cover. And the first one that we'll cover is controlling risk compliance, this kind of direction. And we prepared quite a nice workflow for you that we will go through it. But before that, I would like to wait a second, and I would like to ask you to imagine a situation. Let's imagine that you are a part of a controlling team, a part of a team that is doing some manual checks, that is monitoring their key business partners, for instance, or they are monitoring clients that they have just to see what those clients are doing. Like, is there any event that could maybe impact my company, for instance? That could be a use case that definitely works in the finance world. Like, you control your business partners and you are checking what kind of positive or negative impact they could have on your own company. Usually, if you would be a person like that, you would do that manually. Like, you would use probably Google, you would search for a company name. Like, let's assume that you are working with TikTok, the company TikTok, and you would like to better understand if there are any positive or negative events around that company. So you would probably use Google, you would put their TikTok, and you would read press releases, you would read news information about TikTok, for example. Then you would copy the most important information to the Excel, and after that, you would probably create a report that would be sent to the manager itself. And in the report, you could have the information like that TikTok received a financial penalty for breaching GDPR rules in last 3 months, for example. Like, this kind of insights are shared within the organization in controlling, for example. And this kind of insights are chaotic, inconsistent, and there is no real standard. Like, I have seen this, that there are multiple different news, information, insights, but it is slow, manual, and hard to scale. So how we could monitor events of our, for instance, clients or business partners, we could use for that GenAI. And I will start from the very beginning. At the very beginning in the text input tool, you can see the table. I hope it is big enough that you can read it. There are 5 records that I have here. The first record, AAPL, this is ticker, and it stands for people who are outside of finance world. It stands for, we can call it Apple, for instance, the company Apple. And then we have NVIDIA, Pepsi, Google, and Nike. So in this text input, we define the companies that we would like to do the exercise. We would like to understand whether those business partners or maybe competitors are impacted somehow by some events. We have the dates and we have a period. So we can understand what kind of events happened in prior 3 months to Apple, for instance, or maybe to Pepsi, for example. In that case, the workflow itself take each row that we have over here in the workflow, each row which you can see over here, and then we take it to AI, to large language model, and we ask AI to act like a helpful industry analyst. As you can see, you are to examine key public events that may impact a company's performance. We asked AI to provide a summary of 2 key positive and 2 key negative events for those specific tickers, so for those specific companies in this specific period of time. You can see that there is some HTML format in the prompt itself as well, but I will explain that a little later during the presentation, during the demo. Once we have all of this information, we have our prompt prepared. You can see that our prompt right now here is all prepared, like for stock ticker AAPL, given today's date, for the prior 3 months, provide a summary. We have it already prepared. We are doing an API call to Gemini to get the latest data, to get the latest news about those clients, those business partners in a really nice way. And let me show you right now this table. So the output that you see in the left is all generated by Gemini. So as I ask in the prompt, we have ticker, which stands for Apple, for instance, and we have a split of different events that happened in the last 3 months, comparing to the date that I asked for. There are 2 positive examples, events. So Apple announces record Q2 earnings driven by strong iPhone sales and growth in the services. The quantification of impact, this is what I asked for as well. Revenue increased by 15% year over year. Then we have a possible impact, which whether this is positive or negative. Long story short, this report could be fully automated and could be sent to the manager without any manual effort. Using some Alteryx scheduling capabilities, we could use, for instance, Alteryx server, and we could automate that fully. So there is no effort needed to run this report on monthly basis. You can even forget about that. An automated email with the report could be sent to people with refreshed data on monthly basis, for instance. To do so, I use the functions in the formula, as you can see, date time now, which in dynamic way will refresh that. And there may be a question regarding validation. Like some of you might ask, okay, that looks good, but how do we know if this AI generated data actually correct, or how we can trust it? And this is a really fair question. I ask this question myself many times every day. And there is definitely a really simple way how to handle this, quite creative. For example, we could create a second agent with another AI model. For instance, OpenAI, or we can even create third agent. And those additional agents could have a role of validators, like they could validate and check whether this is basically a correct data. The instruction for a second and third agent could be, dear agent, please check whether this data, which was generated previously by Gemini, is correct. And after that, the model can decide whether it makes sense to pass this data further, or maybe there is one more iteration needed. And after this, it can be delivered to the manager. Last feature that I wanted to highlight, a fun part, I would say, is that we are not using reporting tools here, like regular reporting tools that you would imagine. We are using in this workflow HTML and AI. We actually tell AI to generate HTML code directly. So every single row that we have on the output in the response is the HTML code itself that is then generated into the table that you have just seen. So no regular reporting tools, all HTML generated by AI. And this is pretty wild, right? So thanks for having me. I will have one more use case to share. And right now we'll have you, Peter, to talk more about tax.
Thank you, Bart. Very impressive. I really like the fact that you use the large language model actually to generate also the report for you. So to move forward, I would like to share with you now a set of use case, not only one, but a set of use case that we were implementing in the tax department. And these can range from different things, from reconciliating data sets together or analyzing, so calculating some tax and so on. So give me 1 second so that I can share my screen, and then we can go over these sets of use case. Okay, so now we are in the tax department. In the tax department, as we know, it's all about data, getting data from reconciliating the data, generating some kind of report or analyzing some kind of report. And the use case that I brought to you is a use case that I like to use in this kind of presentation, actually. It is a use case that pretty much reflects the way that the tax department, the challenge that the tax department are facing today. So imagine today there will be a new law. For example, in that case, there is a law where everyone in a specific country in the EU that needs to import non-recyclable material has to pay a specific tax, right? And the problem is for that specific customer is that he didn't really think about how much non-recyclable material are in my product. And they have like 120,000 different type of product coming from more than 20,000 vendors. And now there is this new law, how they need to pay tax. And if they don't want to pay the tax, they need actually to extract from the product that they are importing how much of non-recyclable material they're actually importing inside the country. So generally, the way that you want to do is that you will try to probably allocate every vendor to say to every vendor, send us the documentation of the product that we are importing, and with a proper formatting of how much material actually each product has, so that we can know exactly what is the amount. The only problem is that those documentation comes in different formats. Could be different PDF, could be API, could be different things. And the customer said, okay, how can we handle that? How can we be sure exactly that we're importing this amount of non-recyclable material? And they approach us, and then we say to them, hey, you, why don't you use a large language model to do this kind of task for you? Which means that the goal for this use case is to go inside the documentation or the API of each supplier, extract the composition of each product, and then automatically calculate how much tax we need to pay for a specific country into the EU. Now, let's see in action how we did it, actually. So what you see here is that we did it in different steps. And of course, when we say in different steps, so in the beginning, you will receive the documentation that comes, for example, from a folder as you can see here, in different shape and form PDF. This is the kind of information that you see. In that specific case, we have like a plastic, a cola, a soda bottle, which can be a can, we can be a PET bottle, we can be coming into a glass. And the idea is, so I have all these PDF document, or I receive all these elements from the API. How do I extract it? Different step using Alteryx Designer. The first one, of course, is to extract the content, so the textual information that is contained inside the PDF. And for that, you can use the Alteryx Intelligence Suite. This is what we use here. So we will specify this is the part of the tool itself. Please try to extract only the text content. And then we will aggregate all the text content into the dataset. So now that we know the raw text, so you can see something like this, that we know the raw text that we have into the dataset, we can now also ask the large language model, please, considering this text and considering the information that the supplier gave to us, please extract each individual component for each individual material. And by the way, do an analysis on if this material is considered non-recyclable according to the policy of the country. So here, this is a very simple implementation, but you can see that here we are going now to formulate a specific prompt to say now to the large language model, given the text that you have, the product information that we extracted from the PDF, try to extract the following element. And if you extract the following element, try to analyze based on the policy that we have in the country, if this is recyclable or not recyclable. Of course, here we're using the GenAI tool. Same principle, having the prompt, connect to the large language model, as you can see here. Select a model. So this is a new form of the GenAI tool that I mentioned before. But here, we are using also different model. Right now, we are using Gemini, but you can also use something that is deployed on another platform. And afterward, pass the result. So after this only first step, you have different information here where you can see the product name, the quantity according to the documentation, the total plastic weight, total recyclable plastic weight, and so on and so forth. And of course, I know that in order to have the fully compliant report of what is actually contained, classified, and so on, it will not be only one call, but it will be an orchestration of different calls. Meaning that I will ask the large language model first extract the composition, then I will ask the large language model, okay, this is what we identify. Is it toxic or not toxic according to the country laws? Then extract this is the weight, and then make some kind of plausibility check, and so on. So you will have to extract it. But the good thing is that at the end, we have one report that I will just click here. The report itself is actually a HTML that has been entirely generated by the large language model, which will give you a proper overview of actually all the import that you have done with a nice view that is actually dynamic, generated by the large language model, where you can see exactly the composition, where this is coming from, and everything. And this is just an example how you, as a business, without any specific knowledge on how a large language model works or how to program, you are able to make something that is more complex by using the natural language processing capability of large language model. But this is just one use case among a lot of use cases. So we have different use case. Plastic tax reporting is one. Invoice data extraction. Since I can extract information from the PDF, I can also extract information from invoice. Tax deductibility vendor for payment. Since I have all the description of every transaction in my SAP system, I can analyze the law in the country where the transaction happened to see if there is any deductibility that I can identify. Or financial assessment analysis. If somebody wants, before you are ready, somebody send me the financial assessment or a financial report of a company, I can now also try to identify if something is not okay, or try to identify the key information or the things that are at risk. We have a lot of use cases that we brought with you, from tax data quality check, from transfer pricing compliance monitoring, For invoice classification and verification, this is actually something that I've seen also with a lot of customer. Or, for example, tax dispute analysis, right? What's happening before, the years before, the months before? Can we actually get all the report of those tax disputes, analyze the document, and highlight the key argument, for example? These are the things that you can actually use our GenAI tool, just orchestrate different prompts and get a nice insight or a nice report built on top of that. This is what I brought for you for the tax department. So for the procurement department, I will hand over, I think, to Emil.
Thank you very much, you, Peter. That was really great presentation. I have one use case for the procurement department. I think each of us have heard about the use case when you receive hundreds of different PDFs in different structure, and you would like to extract the information from it and move that in the tabular format. A couple of years ago, I don't think that was really doable. And now, with the GenAI capabilities, actually everyone can build a solution like that. And I have a workflow in place that is actually showing how to do that. And I have an error alongside when I was running it. It's not good, but let's focus on the solution first. It's not super sophisticated. We don't have hundreds of tools inside of it. We have, in this particular example, one folder where we are storing all the invoices. But actually, Alteryx have a really good connector for the Outlook, so you can load all the invoices even from the emails that we are receiving from the clients. Later, we need to read it. There are some PDF capabilities in the Intelligence Suite tools package, and basically we can read the information from the supplier invoice and later put that inside of the prompt that we are using one of new tools, which is called Prompt Compose. And here, basically, we can put the prompt that we would like to send directly to LLM. I actually really like this tool because very easily I can add another column inside of our prompt. And basically, it's very elegant solution and easy to understand. This particular prompt is explaining that you are a data analyst and you would like to scrap the information from the PDFs to extract the information in the JSON format. We have here a concatenated text, which basically is put in this area of the workflow. And later we need to extract the following information and generate a JSON. This is a really smart approach, I would say, because we have here all the information, what kind of data we expect to receive, which makes our output standardized, and we can use that later and even put it in some kind of database. Later, we are sending that to the LLM. We have a tool here that's basically sending it to the Llama model. And we need to clean the response in order to make it work. I will try to run it once more. Not sure why it stopped running just before I try to run it now. Maybe I will be lucky. And everything works. Perfect. And they saved. So basically, we are receiving a response, but we need to clean it a little bit. And I have a JSON tool that is actually parsing all the information in the prepared format. We then need to do a small data preparation, and we have the data output, which is clean, where we have information about the invoice amount, invoice date, what is the payment mode, what's the quantity, transaction date. All of this information is very, very helpful for us to process the data later in the future. We have here also a prompt that is checking if this makes sense. So basically, this is a schema check. We are performing a self-check of the data by the AI, And basically, I'm using the same PDF content and I'm checking if everything makes sense. I think this is pretty good approach if we don't want to use several different models, for example, to cross-validate our data, we can use only 2 API calls to basically increase the data quality by this movement. And later, from this particular LLM, we are getting a response that contains information if the data quality is correct and if something is missing. We can later use that information. If it requires verification, we can put it into basically different folder and we can do an assessment later. So this is pretty simple workflow, I would say, but can generate a lot of savings for the organization. Even if we wouldn't have like full trust in this data, we have like, let's say 98% accuracy, and we still would like to validate if all those positions make sense. This is a huge time saver anyway, because I don't need to take all this information manually. And in the bigger organization, when we are working with hundreds of invoices, this can be really tedious task, and we need a lot of people that is doing that. And majority people that I know, they don't want to do things like that. They want to do something meaningful. So it's an extra benefit, in my opinion, that we allow people to do something which actually bring more value to the organization than reading information from the invoices itself. I would also like to add one additional thing. I don't have a logic for that, but we could use several different models and compare them later. Like if we would have a little bit slightly different response from one of the models, we could set the data for a human verification to just ensure that our data quality is consistent, our data is good, and basically this is a really great way to make it more efficient. Yeah. If I could ask if you could mute yourself if you are not speaking, that would be very, very helpful. Thank you for that. And one more slide about the procurement. You can use the same approach for many different use cases. You can work with contracts. You can work with the data from the suppliers. Of course, if like you can add also one additional layer and you can have an invoice discrepancy resolution in this particular workflow itself. So there are plenty of different possibilities how we can enrich it and make it even better, or build more models, more solutions that use the GenAI approach. So Bart, could you now take a lead and cover the marketing use cases?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Emil. So I'm sharing right now once again Alteryx workflow. I hope you can see that in a second. Please confirm. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
That's perfect. So as Emil mentioned, let's move to area direction of marketing e-commerce. So what would be a problem that is very often approached by marketing people? Imagine right now that you moved from controlling that I was referring before, and right now you change your role to a company like Amazon or eBay. You are working in the marketing team at Amazon, and you have about 33,000 different products under your umbrella, like unique products which are sell on the Amazon or eBay, for instance. And as a marketing person, you need a description, a marketing description for those 33,000 records products that you have in the store. This description should be short, clear, and SEO ready, I would say, for SEO browsers. Usually, people in marketing write those probably by hand in last years, and that takes a lot of time. It's also quite hard to keep the same style, I guess, and the quality of those. So we could use AI-powered workflow, which is connecting to Llama to make it real. And in that case, we are using quite a easy to understand prompt, I guess. We are telling our AI model that you are an e-commerce specialist that sells electronics. Like, as you can see on the right, we have Casio travel alarm clock. This could be one of the products that we sell on our eBay store, for instance. And your specialty is to write persuasive product descriptions. Your task is to write an SEO-friendly description for the product. Let's imagine that this is Casio alarm clock that we have on the right here. So we need to create a description for this Casio clock travel alarm on the right. To be put on the marketing page. So how does it work in action? Basically, at the top, we connect to the database. It could be, for instance, SAP, any database that you have, and we gather those records, unique item IDs that you have, EN titles of the products in the end. Then we have some parameters that we would like to use going further in our prompt. So when we are creating a SEO campaign, we would like to have a target. We would like to have a buyer persona. We would like to have some keywords for example. So for this exercise, let's imagine that we want to sell this Casio travel alarm clock to the student of the age from 18 to 25. And we would like to incorporate some keywords in this description, marketing description, like Alteryx, AI, LLM, GenAI, UTech. Because we found out that students of the age of 18 to 25 from Germany who likes electronics are really into Alteryx, AI, LLM, and we could use that as an opportunity in the description. Let me show you how the data looks like. So when it comes to this Casio example, we have 33,000 rows, as I was referring before. And basically, I would like to show you how the data looks like. So we have plenty of columns, right? 74, for example, there is a description that we have, the Casio itself is a watch. We have EAN code itself. We have some information about the features of this watch. We have a list price. We have more information like SKU and so on. So all of this is merged together with the prompt that we had with student of the age 18 to 25, with the emotions, a beautiful, loving, caring, exciting, with keywords that I was referring to. We merged that together to have it send it over to LLM, to Llama. And in the end, we receive a response that I would like to present you in a second. On the right, the 5 columns that we have are the 6 columns that we have are original one from SAP. And on the left, we have data which was generated by AI. So in that case, Llama created us a description and that this is Casio TQ140 with beep alarm, freehand analog display and luminant hands is perfect for students, combining beauty and functionality like Alteryx simplifying data. This clock simplifies timekeeping with AI-like precision and a size of 57 millimeters powered by a size AA battery. So in that case, we definitely address our target audience. And we very easily can do those descriptions for more products. Like, as you can see, I just selected 5 out of 33,000 that we had in the base. We could do that for 30,000 records. It shouldn't be a problem. That's very easy to scale. And basically, I have some more examples. Like, for instance, I had Samsung in my eBay store, and Samsung TV offers a beautiful viewing experience. Like using Alteryx for data analysis, it brings clarity, and with AI, LLM, GenAI, new tech, it's exciting. Why he's mentioning new tech? Because in the keywords, I also mentioned that he somehow should bring those definitions in the end. Once again, someone can ask the question how it could be for sure correct, because maybe it will create not correct descriptions for some of the products. For example, Sony 5.1 DVD home theater. Here, our model created not the best answer, I guess, because he mentioned exciting AI-powered audio. I guess Sony 5.1 doesn't have any AI-powered audio, so this is definitely not a true information. But as Emil was presenting before, we could further connect that to other models that could verify that and improve it going further to make sure that all is correct. In that case, I'm all good with the workflow. I would like to come back once again to the presentation to very smoothly present you some other examples in the marketing and controlling. Emil, if you could share the screen, that would be perfect. So very quickly, I would like to just describe that the use case that I presented, you can use it for other examples. Like you can take the example that I was just presenting with the description for products, and you can create social media posts, for instance. You can, for example, create marketing campaign to your clients. Let's imagine that you have customers that you serve or customers that you work with. Maybe you have some segments of those customers. Maybe you have some information about regions. Maybe you have some information about them to make it tailored. AI could also create a mail campaign, a tailored campaign sent over to your customers, for example. And just very quickly, I wanted also to mention about the controlling capabilities. So back before I was referring to the example of the events. As you remember, I was talking about Apple, Google, NVIDIA, Nike, Pepsi, and the 2 positive and negative outcomes. Basically, we have a list of the controlling use cases as well. So if some of those which I'm sharing right now are interesting for you, please refer to us after this meeting. So I'll be more than happy to talk about that after the call itself. Thank you once again. Emil, I think you can take a lead right now.
Actually, I think you, Peter, is showing the legal part.
Yes. Let me share my screen, then I will switch back. I hope you can see my screen yet. Is it the case?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes, of course. We have the marketing department, tax, procurement, and other department. The legal department can also benefit from that too, right? And you will probably ask yourself, where in the legal department do not use Alteryx generally? And I say, no, actually, generative AI opens you up to new kind of use case that you probably have never seen before. And to illustrate that, I brought a very simplistic use case that we at Alteryx also implemented. And the question is about the EU and AI Act. So are you sure? Probably your company has signed some contract with Alteryx. Are you sure that those contracts are EU and AI Act compliant? And can you quantify what is missing actually if they are not compliant? Or what percentage are our contracts actually compliant? This is one question that we ask ourselves, and we say, actually, we can use a large language model to answer those questions for us, right? The question is how? And how will this kind of new capability we now help the legal department? And actually brought you some a use case, a workflow where we actually analyze that. And just to start from the beginning, this is generally how the contract, you receive the contract. And those contracts have also some amendment. The amendment can go on the website, can go also an additional document that you have somewhere that Alteryx posts on this cloud. But at the end, if you have all this amendment, all this documentation about the contract, you actually have everything that is related to the contract. Now the question is, are all the contract with all the amendment and all the documents that are related to the contract EU and AI Act compliant? And how do I know that? Since, for example, we know that the the AI Act from the EU is more than 8,000 pages when you try to read everything, right? So here we were a little bit smart. So the first thing that we did is that we will go over the EU and AI Act, all the documentation, the policy, the description of the policy, and try to extract general questions that the contract will need to answer in order to be compliant with the regulation. And you can see this is just a subset of those questions. This question goes, for example, from general compliance. Does the contract explicitly acknowledge the applicability of the EU AI Act? Over the risk calculation, is classified a right, if classified a right, does the contract outline the necessary compliance measure? Over data governance, are there provisions ensuring that data use in the contract is relevant, representative, free from bias? So you will find actually those kind of questions inside the policy itself. So what we did is that we extract more than 1,000 questions like this, and then we ask a large language model to read our documentation and try to answer those questions only based on what is inside the contract. Okay? And of course, a contract is in the form of a document, a PDF document. We use first Alteryx Intelligence Suite to extract the content of the contract. You can see that these come in different form, as you see here, right? And once we have this, of course, we prepare a prompt or a series of prompts that we need to orchestrate. So in that particular case, for that specific demo, what I will ask, I will say, okay, you are a lawyer with more than 50 years of experience in practicing law. You can review legal documents, so carefully analyze the contract and examine each clause and provision to ensure that it's legally sound and in the best interest of the client. After reviewing the client, try to answer the following question and answer it in the specific form. So I will give him the question, and then I will give him the content of the legal document, and I will let the large language model actually analyze this and give the feedback for me directly in the form of yes or no, and also an explanation. So you let everything be executed. In that specific case, we execute everything on OpenAI. And then we get the result. Here at the result, we pass the result and we bring it in the tabular form. And then once everything is there, you can now see exactly where does my contract is compliant, where the question was yes or no, or where specifically in which field my contract needs a human review. So let's have a look, for example, around cybersecurity. The question is, does the contract include obligation to implement robust cybersecurity measure for the AI system? And then he said, the contract actually contains general data protection and privacy, but it lacks specific clauses addressing cybersecurity measure for AI system, right? And then he explained you exactly why he said that it is a human should review the contract to make sure that with that specific question, right, the contract is AI Act compliant. And then you can see that here now you have something that you can quantify. And you can actually quantify over the huge data set of questions that you have if your contract is 99% compliant and if everything is fine. And by the way, all Alteryx contracts are more than 96% compliant to the EU and AI Act. So this is what I prepared for the legal department. And of course, if you go to the same principle, you have you can do a lot of things. For example, for GDPR compliance, for risk assessment, for legal error detection, for contract generation and contract summarization, or document difference tracking. You take two contracts in different form, and then you track and you make sure that everything is fine. Okay? These are the use case. You will receive the slide, so you will also receive the workflow that we presented to you, and then you will be, if you are allowed, you have the possibility also to experiment on your own. So let's move now to the support team. I think there is one last use case that Emil wants to present.
Sure. Thank you, Peter. Great use case. I think bigger the organization, bigger opportunities in the legal departments, definitely.
Excellent.
I think no human being could do this task manually, or even army of lawyers could have problems with that. And the next use case that I would like to show is the last use case is about support tickets. Not sure if you had a chance to work in the support team, but I personally had the chance for several months to actually do that. And each ticket that you receive, someone needs to take a look at them and send them over to relevant people. Additionally, very often when you receive a ticket, it's pretty hard to do proper reporting on those. Because if you will be able to identify properly what are the most common tickets, maybe you can improve the process and make it better, so you will receive smaller amount of tickets. Or maybe you are receiving a lot of complaints about a specific topic. You can change your product based on the things that are making your customers very unhappy. So there are several ways what we can do with the data, but now I will focus on solving two problems. One of them is the language. Let's imagine that you are part of a bigger team and you are receiving tickets in many different languages. It's pretty problematic to assign it to relevant people because I, for example, don't speak French or Espanol. So I would need to ask my colleagues that actually know those languages, but not with the power of LLM engine and Alteryx. Secondly, after translating it, it would be good to know who should handle that case. And this is also the area that Alteryx and GenAI can do a really good job. Here we have a data that is basically, let's say, populated in the web interface. So our client, internal, external, are going to a website and they are picking different things from a drop-down. They are containing a subject and also populate like a text message explaining the problem. So firstly, we need to translate that. We have here a prompt that is not super sophisticated. It's actually pretty simple, that we would like to translate the text into a proper English. We have here some information about what Alteryx or LLM shouldn't do that. So he shouldn't rewrite, summarize. We want to have exactly the same information because we don't want to be misled by the LLM. Additionally, we would like to have the same format to ensure that we don't lose anything which is important. And lastly, we are explaining to GenAI that you are on the job interview, so you need to pay attention to what you are doing and no mistakes are allowed. And basically, we are receiving pretty decent responses, and we can use that further to assign it to a proper categories. For the demonstration purposes, I have only, let's call it 3 different categories, accounting, hardware, software. So we have like 3 different teams that will handle this, those problems. We are appending this into the data itself, and later I'm using this in our prompt to tag them accordingly. One last sentence why we translated it. Firstly, LLMs are more efficient when they are working in data in English. And LLMs are more efficient if they are working in the data with the same language. So thanks to that, I basically improved the data quality by splitting that to different steps and maintain the order which I am proposing here. And later, with this, I have an output with a ranking. We could use this ranking for the reporting purposes, or we can have a process in place that, for example, this will be automatically sent over to the first team that is on the top. I can use the email tool and send it directly to them. If the hardware team will say, okay, that's not our job, they will automatically send it over to software or whichever department they think will match it. So I think it can significantly improve the work in the area that we don't need to have a person that is basically forwarding those emails, because this is also a tedious task that, in my opinion, don't bring a lot of value to the organization. And we actually need someone pretty skilled that have an understanding about different processes or different issues that our clients might have. Lastly, I prepared the data in a more, let's say, in the tabular format to ensure that it's easier to use in production. But I think that will be all about this use case itself. And I will pass the voice to Bart so he can share our surprise with you.
That's correct. Thanks, Emil. As I mentioned at the very beginning during our agenda, we have a small surprise at the very end. I'll share the screen right now. I hope you can see that in just a second.
Yes, we can see your screen. Okay.
So to all people who are still with us, I see still 55 people joining our call. I'm very happy about that. We would like to offer a free GenAI proof of concept. And we would like to explain that how it will work. Basically, first of all, if you would like to receive a free GenAI proof of concept, please scan the QR code that is visible right now. Then there is a short form on our website that you will need to fill in. You will provide your email address and the higher level overview of the AI use case that you are thinking about. It could be very similar to the use cases that we were presenting just before during our presentation. After that, one of our team colleagues will reach out to you to discuss the process in more details. And for the first 3 companies who will reach out to us and those use cases will be valid for POC, we'll do that at no cost for free, just to try it out and to encourage you to use GenAI with Alteryx in the end. So please scan the QR code. We are waiting for any responses from you, and the first 3 companies will get a free GenAI proof of concept in this case. Okay, so I see that we have still 10 minutes left. In that case, I would like to just encourage you to send any questions that you may have during this presentation. You can send it over to us to email that you see here, bartsmuga.datapaleu, or through our Scan Me QR code. Happy to answer those. And in that case, Christian, I think you will take a very short 10 minutes break right now. Christian, you're on mute.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
So, in 10 minutes, I think it's not really applicable to dive really deep, but I can, if you want, go a little into Alteryx 1 as a concept, and we can then go ahead in some further meeting if it's feasible, or should we try to...
It definitely makes sense. So maybe we could arrange that for a further meeting then later this year. If you would like to reach out to us, you can do that. I'm just sending over an email address. And if you would like to take part in the free proof of concept, there are still 2 seats according to what I see. Billy, yeah, I see that right now. That's perfect. So if you are happy to take part on that, please send it over the questions or your ideas. We are happy to help. So in that case, thank you once again for very intensive time. And as we mentioned, we'll postpone the Alteryx 1 presentation by Christian to later this year. We'll keep you updated, and let's stay in touch. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank
It
you,
was a
everyone.
great event. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have
Very
fun.
nice. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.